So it's been 6 years since you put out an album. So what about now to actually put out a new Soul Asylum album?
Why did we put out a record? I'm not sure, but
You don't have to.
That was the first line of our press release. It's been 6 years since Soul Asylum made a record, and I called my manager and I just went, look, that's what everybody's going to ask me about, and there's no exciting answer. It took 6 years to make the record, and that's how long it took. So I don't really have any excuses or reasons for it taking so long, but in a weird sort of way, I feel pretty good about the way it all went down. So we sort of, I like to think that the inmates took over the asylum and whatever, and we made this record ourselves. And Michael was a real key player in the whole situation. So, it's hard to find an incentive to put a record out because, I don't know. Apparently, the guy from Cracker just put something out online. Have you read that? And he's sort of talking about downloading, and he's a really smart guy, and I'm not bitter about the fact that I got vinyl on this record, and I'm thrilled about it. But nobody cares but me, and a handful of other people. But it's what makes it exciting. So for me, it's like you make a plate with food on it and you present it to somebody, and you want it to be the best dish that you can make, and you want it to be everything. You want to put all your TLC into that dish and hand it to somebody and go, taste that. You're gonna like that, and that's kind of the long and short end of it, So if I put out virtual food on the internet, it's just there's nothing to bite into. But that's just because I'm old-fashioned. So I appreciate the way that the music distribution system has evolved. But at the same time, the LP or whatever you want to call it is a thing of the past. So will I ever put out another record? I just don't know. But if I see a 16-year-old kid today coming up and going, well, I'm just going to put songs out on the internet, why would I make a CD or anything? It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that. So the proof is in the pudding, and the product is the music, and the music is visceral. It's a spirit out there. It's not meant to be marketed like deodorant. At the same time, it's very confusing to mix up the system of how I came to this sort of thing by going to record stores and making all these discoveries that were a very important part of my childhood, just trying to understand who these people are that make this music, and that my mom has to take me to a store to buy a 45 and all that sort of stuff. It's cute and it's charming, but I'm not a nostalgic person at all. So I understand the conundrum that we deal with today, which is the exact same thing as it's always been. There's always going to be a Lady Gaga, and there's always going to be a No Direction or One Direction or whatever it is. There's always going to be an industry that's, if we can create music from the industry and feed it to the people, and they will buy it, that's the alternative movement. Just doesn't have any place in that, and it never did. So that's why it's called alternative. So I don't know. Making a record is a huge pain in the ass, but it's my craft, if you will.
So my main focus wasn't why did it take you so long, but did you really feel you needed to put new music out?
Yeah, I always feel like I need to put new music out. It's just, to jump through all the hoops to make a Soul Asylum record is kind of like, oh my God, it has to be Soul Asylum music, which I write it all anyways, so people have a certain expectation what that's supposed to sound like, and you know, it sounds like a Soul Asylum record, for better or for worse. It's not the only kind of music that I get into or play or am interested in or anything, but it's a very elusive high standard that doesn't really have much meaning to it.
How are you at adapting to the whole recording process now versus what you used to do? Because I know we used to talk about, you know, before with tape and splicing and things like that. Everything's digital now.
Yeah.
I mean, you can take your laptop with you and set up a studio.
Yeah, I was just reading an article about Glyn Johns, who recorded like Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones and all that, and he's recording some Canadian folk band or whatever they are, but he just like, I'm using tape and I'm editing with a razor blade, and that's what I do, and that's how I got where I am, and I can afford to not give a shit about the digital thing, and it really takes a lot of money to be able to afford to not work in the digital realm, and it's, you know, it's not for me, but I use it because it's affordable, and it's, you know, you can just manipulate the hell out of everything. So I could have used digital before I had Michael in the band, because we could have done all kinds of editing to drummers that weren't great drummers, but now I don't really need that because Michael doesn't, you know, and he'll still edit himself, but I let him deal with that, because you can pretty much, you can cheapen it as much as you want. You can make it as fake or as phony or whatever, but, you know, I don't want to be that person out there, and I feel bad for the kid that has a hit and his voice is so auto-tuned that he can't sing it live. I mean, that's got to be just tragic, you know. You're not supposed to feel sorry for those people, because you're like, well, they don't have the talent to do it anyways. But the truth of the matter is that it's a bigger and bigger proportion of the pop music that we're hearing today, and you know, fabricating music is as old as whatever. So.
Well, you had the whole Manili Vanilli, if you remember. You know, they didn't do anything. I mean, to start with, most bands today that you see play to a backing.
That's common practice now. We were talking about the Electric Light Orchestra, and they, I think, were maybe one of the first bands to come out with playing to recorded tracks or something. They had whatever. They had the string section doubled or something, and people really busted their balls for it. They were just like, there's something going on stage that's not actually being played.
That's every night in a concert now, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's
every night.
You'd be challenged to find a big concert where they weren't playing to tracks.
I mean, I see that all the time as I'm out shooting shows.
I don't really care. You know, it doesn't matter to me. I don't know. I don't know.
So, with the long careers you had, any regrets? Anything you would have wanted to change?
Yeah, I regret the second Rolling Stone cover story, and I regret, you know, something almost every week where, like, we were trying to leave Reno, Nevada, and the flight got canceled. And, you know, I regret the hell out of that. I wish I could have changed the way the airlines operate. But there's always, you know, just impossible difficulties that you either laugh off or you go, well, fuck this. So you quit or you laugh. But you can't really change it. You can't really, you know, I got to get to Annapolis at this amount of time. And if the airlines make that 3 times more complicated, that's life, you know. So, no, not really, though. I mean, I sort of regret not graduating from college, and I just see that, like, the longer I keep doing this, the more I go, oh man, I'm gonna have to admit that, you know, my mom was right, and I should have stayed in school or something. So I do sort of go, God, you know, it's really conventional wisdom. You know, I'm not educated in the way I should be. So I don't really have any other skills besides this, which I don't really know if that's going to carry me through the rest of my life. And I don't, you know, if I had to go back into the service industry, I think I'd be a good waiter, and I know how to be a short order cook, and I know how to do things like that, but, you know, I wish I knew how to weld or something, so maybe I'll go to a trade school or something.
Do you think about that?
Well, yeah, all the time. It's a very insecure job. It just always seems like it's going to end. Which, you know, people have been telling me not to do this since I was 17. You know, you can't do that. So there's this part of it where it's like, you know, people are still like, you're still doing that? Aren't you getting too old for that? And I'm just like, well, it's music, you know, and you're never too old for music. But I understand what they're getting at, like, you know, it's, and you know, it's a big part of the reason why I moved to New Orleans is because I saw the longevity of the players and the expertise of dedicating your life to you know, your instrument, which I don't have any of that either, but, you know, I want to stick with it as long as I can, and as long as I have people like Michael and that, we're going to be fine. But man, he means everything to me. You can't make that up on the internet. That's flesh and blood right there.
No, he's been a great addition.
Oh my God.
That's for sure. And definitely more memorable than those in the past. I will say that.
Yeah, well.
So as fans of a band, we always have the moments that stick out in our minds of seeing our favorite bands. I mean, I have a lot of mine. So what are some memorable moments for you in your career?
I think it's sort of the situations that you don't really expect. I mean, for me, it's not about what I'm going to tell you. To me, it's like, wow, if we have a really good gig, that's what I live my whole life for. And when it's over, I just feel complete. And that's it. All I want to do is have a good gig and have all the songs sound just right, and that's it. That does it for me. But, you know, oh God, we played at the White House. Now that was interesting. Cool. That was memorable. I got to play with Lou Reed and Iggy Pop. That was interesting. That was memorable. You know, things like those weird situations that sort of are the freak things that you're like, wow, how did I got them? What am I doing here? You know, those are kind of fun. But, you know, I'm looking forward to tonight in a way that we've never played in a place like this. It reminds me of a lot of the jazz clubs that I like to go to, you know.
I was surprised you guys were booked here. I was like, really?
I mean, last night we played in a minor league baseball diamond. So it couldn't be more different, you know. It's just this huge venue with, you know.
This is cool. It's seated.
A is for adaptation. That's what I was going to call the record. A is for adaptation, because that's what it is. Life is a Darwinian situation.
So before I started recording this, we were talking about what you could have done this past summer. And one of the tours I did see was two of your label mates. I saw the Summerland tour this summer with Sugar Ray and Everclear and the Gin Blossoms.
Okay.
Marcy Playground and Lit.
How was that?
Amazing.
Yeah?
Great crowd. I mean, everybody knows, because they did the hit songs.
Right.
I mean, everyone, and you've touched on this in other interviews too about you could do those shows where you just do your hit songs and nothing else. But I mean, you have a big enough fan base that's going to want to hear those other songs still, which is cool. I mean,
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see at a seated venue tonight how this is. Hey, I at least know back home you do, because I've been to those shows where everybody knows everything and sings along. You know, and you made a decision not to do like some kind of big tour and do your own stuff this summer. I mean, what do you see for the future to do? It's hard for bands touring. I mean, you have to tour to make money. And
you know, I think if we're still the same thing we are today, next summer we should probably get on one of those tours. And the reason
there'll be another one.
You know, part of the reason is because we had this record out and we wanted to go into the Bowery Ballroom and the sort of haunts that we've troubadours of the world, where you're not playing as a nostalgia gig, and that's the hardest part about it, is that you're just sort of, I don't know. And the other choice was to go out with some like sort of jam band thing that was like the Blues Traveler. And,
yeah, I saw that tour.
And whatever. And for me, I would rather be a part of that, only because it's not associated with pop stuff. It's more associated with people that just play music and people that come to see players play. And it's, you know, there's either a very fat line or a very fine line between, you know, a jam band and bebop and improvisation and all those things that, you know, people run out of patience for. I mean, I don't run out of patience for it at all, and it's more just geared towards what I'm more interested in, even if it's not music that I listen to. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you go out there and you trot your fucking hits out every year, and it's just becomes sort of a routine, like a grind or whatever, and that's not what I'm into. I'm more into, you know what I mean. You know what I'm into.
So I'll throw in like one of those songs that you don't play forever again, and ask for it every show in a row till I finally get it. You know, it might take 6 or 7 shows.
I find that it works, though. I find that, like, enough people go, why don't you play this song? And I'm just like, oh my God, we haven't played that song in 10 years. But we've been getting a lot of requests for April Fool. Yeah. And, you know, I've never heard Michael play that, but you know he'll kill it. It'll sound better than ever, so.
See, that's what you should change up.
And
you're not doing covers like you used to.
Oh, we trotted out a bunch of new covers.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, we were doing Joy Division and Nick Cave and the Suicide Commandos and Generation X, and then we recorded some like really weird like Nazi punks fuck off, which was just hilarious because Michael, being the mohawked drummer that didn't grow up with the Dead Kennedys, he took it as a challenge, and it was hilarious because he just like, this fucking music is whoa, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's great.
So that's the thing I loved, is you'd throw covers in there that you wouldn't expect. I mean,
yeah,
you know, we got to hear Waterfalls. I have a tape somewhere where we did 1 Tin Soldier.
Oh man, yeah, I played Waterfall in New Orleans, and these girls were like, man, why are you playing that song? And I was just like, because I love that song. And they go, man, you sound like Dolly Parton or something. And I was like, I love Dolly Parton. And they just were not. They were getting it. Dude, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, I don't know. So yeah, there's that funny part of it that I really enjoy. So, I mean, we were just playing a radio show somewhere, and I couldn't think of what to do, and then we played Chevy Van, and people just loved it, and I don't even think they'd ever heard that song, and I was frankly astonished that I could remember it at all. But it just comes from that whole, you know, when all else fails, make them laugh kind of thing. Which I should have gone into comedy probably.
Yeah, you can try your jokes out on stage.
I know, I had to stop telling all those jokes.
Yeah, that's the one thing I can remember from the one show I went to.
Here
you and Tommy.
There it is. Cut to Dan on the drums.
I don't know if I could even get him to be tiny. He's like tiny Danny on drums. There you go.
Come on, give us some of that smooth jazz.
See?
All right.